Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 5, BC3C. My name is Rashid Aziz.
My name is Raja Farhana binti Sharmiza.
My name is Nurul Izzati Hasanah binti Azhar.
My name is Studio Dina binti Zahar.
Today we will present about question 5,
which is motivation.
Now I will proceed with question 1. The definition of expectancy theory is a motivation theory based on the idea that work effort is directed towards behavior that people believe will lead to desired outcome. Expectancy theory offers an elegant model based on rational logic to predict the chosen direction, level, and persistence of motivation. The theory stated that work effort is directed toward work behavior that people believe will lead desired outcome. In other words, they are motivated to achieve the goals with the highest expected payoff. An individual's effort level depends on three factors, which are effort to performance, E to P, expectancy performance to outcome, P to O, and outcome balance, V. The motivation is influenced by all the components in the theory model. If any component weakens, motivation will weaken too. We'll move to the first component, which is expectancy to performance, E to P. Expectancy to performance is a probability that a specific effort level will result in a specific performance level. This is also the individual's perceived probability that his or her effort will result in a particular level of performance. The objective of E to P expectancy is to increase the belief of employees are capable of performing the job successfully. As an employer, we need to have a strategy in order to increase E to P expectancy. As E to P expectancy are influenced by the individual belief that they can successfully complete the task. In order to increase E to P, some action need to be taken. First of all, the employer need to select employees or people with the required skills and knowledge without being biased. Second, the employer needs to provide required training and clarify job requirement, and also the employer should have provided sufficient time and resources when it comes to a project or business proposal. Besides, employer should assign simpler or fewer tasks until the employees can master them. Next, the employer is supposed to provide example of similar employees who have successfully performed the task. And last but not least, the employer needs to provide coaching to employees who lack of self-confidence. The second component is a performance to outcome expectancy, P to O. It is a probability that a specific performance level will result in a specific outcome. In other words, this is a perceived probability that a specific behavior or performance level will lead to a particular outcome. Employee may believe that accomplishing a particular task will result in a particular outcome. The objective of P to O expectancy is to increase the belief that good performance will result in certain outcome. P to O expectancy needs to be improved because the employer needs to measure the employee performance accurately and distribute more value reward to those higher job performance. There are some ways to apply P to O expectancy in an organization. The employer needs to measure job performance of the employees accurately without being biased using KPI. Furthermore, as an employer, they need to explain clearly that outcomes will result from successful performance. Next, the employees need to describe how the employees' rewards are based on past performance. Lastly, the employer should provide example of other employees whose good performance has resulted in higher reward. The last component is outcome balance. This is the last component in the expectancy theory. Balance is the anticipated satisfaction or dissatisfaction that an individual feels towards an outcome. An outcome balance represents a person's anticipated satisfaction with the outcome. Outcome has a positive valence when they are consistent with the values and satisfy their needs, while they have a negative valence when they oppose and inhibit need fulfillment. The objective of balance is to increase the expected value of outcome resulting from desired performance. In order to increase outcome balance, the organizational leader need to find ways to individualize reward, or where standard reward are necessary to identify reward that do not have a negative valence for some staff. The employer should distribute a reward that employee value. Moreover, the employer should give reward based on individuals. Employer also needs to minimize the presence of counterbalance outcome.
Proceed to the second question, which is about equity theory of work motivation. Equity theory explaining how people develop perception of fairness in the distribution and exchange of resources. Equity theory have 5 key parts. Firstly, people who believe their input and outcome. The input they bring to the table include the level of education, skill, quantity of work, quality of work, and experience. Outcome could be anything which result from their work, which is salary, rewards, benefits, recognition in terms of phrases. Secondly, people compare themselves to a reference other. Reference other is anyone, then a person they are comparing themselves to. It may be someone from the same department, or it may be someone or your friend from another organization, family member, or yourself from previous job. Thirdly, people form belief about others' input and outcome. They are not comparing themselves to a reference other, but they are referring what they bring to the table, which is input, and what they get out of the job. Fourthly, people compare their input-outcome ratio with other input-outcome ratio. Finally, the fifth one, perception of inequity motivate behavior to resolve equity. When people compare themselves to each other in this way, they may react in 3 basic ways, which is overpayment inequity, underpayment inequity, and equitable payment. Overpayment inequity is a condition resulting of feeling guilt, which the ratio of one outcome in input is more than corresponding ratio of another person which they're comparing themselves to, which means you are getting more out of the job while doing less than someone else, so they feel guilty. Secondly, which is underpayment inequity, is a condition resulting of feeling anger, which the corresponding ratio of one outcome and input is less than ratio of another person in which they're comparing themselves to, which is you are getting less out of the job than someone who put the same input or lesser but getting more out of the job. Thirdly, equitable payment, a person outcome and input is equivalent to another person who are referring themselves to.
After listening to the general view of the equity theory, now let's get back to the question, which is what is the effect of Salma after she knows that she didn't get promoted? Okay. Based on the situation above, Salma compared her own outcomes or input ratio as she is more careful and disciplined in her work, very actively contributing ideas in the organization, with Ahmad, whose level of performance is lower than her. This clearly stated that the action of Salma comparing her own outcome or input ratio results in perception of equity, which is over-rewarded in equity. In the in equity condition, people believe their ratio of outcome or input is higher than the comparison of others' ratio. When people believe that they are over-rewarded, they experience negative emotion, which is called as inequity tension. This can be illustrated with the situation above, which after Ahmad had been promoted, Salma was very frustrated as Salma believed that Ahmad's promotion was not that good, Ahmad's promotion was not for his performance but for being a good friend to his boss. Since then, she has stopped giving new ideas, began to take unwarranted sick leave, and was thinking about quitting her job. This is what we call inequity tension. However, if the inequity tension is strong enough and can't be reduced through other actions, Salma might leave the field. For example, this occurs by moving to another department, joining another company, or keeping away from the work site where the promoted worker, which is here is Ahmad, is located. On contrary, people who feel over-rewarded in equity does not always act in negative ways. A common reaction, however, is that the over-rewarded employees changes his or her perceptions to justify the more favorable outcomes. So some of the effect of inequity tension here is Salma tend to be a negative person since she can't be promoted. So that's all from me. Bye.
Okay, I will proceed with question number 3. Question number 3, okay, we start with job evaluation is systematically rating the worth of jobs within an organization by measuring their required skill, effort, responsibility, and working condition. Job status-based rewards try to improve feelings of fairness such that people in higher value jobs should get higher pay. This reward motivates employees to compete for promotion. The Alaskan Tire Corporation should introduce team-based reward system rather than individual rewards in this setting. There are many advantages of having team-based systems. In team compensation, employees may perform better in hopes of not letting down the team. This is especially so in projects based on job which require every team member to complete the task before the rest of the team can advance to the next stage of work. Information is shared more freely when the team are reviewed and compensated as a group because the incentive to withhold information for personal gain is reduced. Next, team-based reward is encouraged in the companies in order to encourage the team members to work together effectively. Individual incentive schemes can encourage competition as well as increasing the conflict with one another. Team-based incentive encourage collaboration and cooperation with one another to achieve shared goal. For example, a team member with planning skills will organize the workflow while team members with technical skills will focus on completing the work. Last but not least, it can reduce employee turnover. This is because employees who feel satisfied with their pay and condition are less likely to be enticed by a competitor. Companies with long-term team-based incentive pay experience lower than average employee team turnover. Members of the team become committed to the shared goal and are reluctant to leave their colleagues. Lower employee turnover benefits the company by reducing costs of recruiting and training the employees. Thank you.
Okay, that's the end of our answer question. So, any question that you guys want to ask, please drop the comment below, and yeah, we are trying to improve our